Coronation Street delivered a deeply emotional episode on Monday evening, as Sarah Platt finally came face-to-face with her former best friend, Todd Grimshaw, after their relationship was shattered by Sarah's actions. Earlier this year, viewers discovered that Sarah, played by Tina O'Brien, was responsible for the death of Theo Silverton, the abusive partner of her best friend. Sarah is now serving time in prison after being charged with Theo's murder. When Todd, portrayed by Gareth Pierce, learned the truth, he was devastated and completely cut Sarah out of his life. His anger was made even worse because Sarah had initially allowed his daughter Summer to take the blame and face prison herself. However, circumstances eventually forced the pair to reconsider their bitter fallout. Shortly after Sarah ended her relationship with police officer Kit Green, because she was terrified that being involved with her could damage his career, she contacted Todd and asked him to come and see her in prison. To Sarah's relief, Todd agreed to the visit. During their emotional reunion, Todd immediately spotted the bruises covering Sarah's face and realized that something terrible had happened. Sarah admitted that another prisoner had attacked her and confessed that she felt powerless to prevent the abuse from continuing. Todd was visibly moved by her situation and made it clear that he could no longer simply stand by while someone he cared about was being targeted. Sarah reminded him that he had previously insisted their friendship was over. But Todd explained that he had spent a great deal of time thinking while he was away. Although he still struggled to understand why Sarah had allowed Summer to become involved in the situation, Todd admitted that he knew Sarah well enough to recognize that she was not an evil person. He acknowledged that she had made an enormous mistake, but ultimately told her that he still loved her. Sarah became emotional and returned the sentiment, affectionately telling Todd that she loved him too. The touching reunion was interrupted when Sarah's cellmate, Casey, arrived with upsetting news about her son. He had failed to visit her because he had been arrested. Casey then began putting pressure on Sarah to persuade Kit to use his position as a police officer to help her son. Later, Sarah spoke with Todd over the phone, and he urged her to tell Kit about the attacks she had suffered in prison. Sarah refused, apparently still determined to protect Kit from becoming further involved in her dangerous situation. Todd then made it clear that he would not simply ignore what was happening. He warned Sarah that if she refused to tell Kit herself, he would do it for her. The emotional scenes quickly attracted plenty of reaction from Coronation Street viewers online, with many fans delighted that Todd and Sarah had managed to repair their friendship despite everything that had happened between them. One viewer praised their bond and said they were thrilled that Todd had decided to give Sarah another opportunity. Another fan described the prison scenes as touching and suggested that Todd and Sarah remained extremely important to one another, even though their relationship could never become romantic again. A further viewer simply shared their appreciation for the emotional Todd and Sarah scenes. Todd has been part of Coronation Street since 2001, when he was introduced as the son of Eileen Grimshaw, played by Sue Cleaver, and brother of Jason Grimshaw, portrayed by Ryan Thomas. His history with Sarah goes back even further, as the pair were romantically involved during their teenage years. Their relationship eventually came to an abrupt end after Todd realized that he was gay. During their time together, Sarah became pregnant with their son Billy. Tragically, Billy was born 3 months prematurely and died just 1 day later, leaving both Todd and Sarah devastated. Their complicated history has continued to shape their relationship over the years, making Todd's decision to forgive Sarah particularly significant. Now that their friendship appears to have been restored, viewers will be left wondering whether Todd will continue to stand by Sarah as her increasingly dangerous prison ordeal unfolds. Leanne takes a huge risk in Coronation Street that could cost her dearly. Leanne Battersby may soon regret putting her trust in Idris Nazir, as her new relationship in Coronation Street takes a dangerous turn. At the moment, Leanne, played by Jane Danson, appears to be completely taken in by Idris, portrayed by Junaid Khan. She sees him as a confident, charming, and generous new partner, but viewers have already spotted plenty of warning signs that suggest there is much more to him than meets the eye. Idris is far from the harmless charmer he pretends to be. Behind his smooth personality is a ruthless businessman who is prepared to use intimidation and questionable methods whenever they help him get what he wants. His past behavior includes owning a rundown property plagued by black mold, which caused serious breathing problems for Abby Webster's son, Alfie. Idris then used the young Brody Michaelis to threaten the former landlord, rather than taking responsibility for the situation himself. Despite all those warning signs, Leanne has so far failed to recognize just how dangerous Idris could be. In some ways, that is understandable. Leanne has endured her fair share of disastrous relationships, including her marriage to alcoholic Peter Barlow, and her complicated history with Nick Tilsley. Nick famously betrayed her by having an affair with her sister Toya Battersby. Leanne has also had plenty of other problems to deal with recently. Her adopted son Sam Blakeman suffered a devastating psychological breakdown after being targeted and groomed by Megan Walsh. So when Idris came along and appeared to treat Leanne well, showering her with attention and happily spending money on her, it is easy to understand why she might have ignored the warning signs. However, that could all be about to change. Idris has his sights firmly set on Speeddal, the restaurant where Leanne works. His ambition is to add the popular curry house to his growing property empire, but there is one major obstacle standing in his way. Speeddal belongs to Alia Nazir, played by Ser Khan, who Idris initially described as his cousin, except their family connection is considerably more complicated than that. During negotiations over the restaurant, Idris revealed a shocking family secret. He is the result of an affair between his mother and Sharif, the unfaithful former husband of Alia's grandmother Yasmin. That revelation means Idris is actually the half-brother of Alia's late father Cal, who was played by Jimmy Mystery. And of course, Cal was also Leanne's former partner. Despite the extraordinary nature of the revelation, Leanne took the news remarkably well. Rather than being horrified by the complicated family connection, she even found the situation amusing, given that she had now been romantically involved with two brothers. But while Leanne may have laughed off the awkward family connection, Idris has continued to focus on his business ambitions. Recent events have put Alia under enormous pressure, including problems surrounding her work at Adam Barlow's legal firm. As a result, she has decided to sell her share of Speeddal. Idris now needs to find £50,000 if he wants to secure the restaurant. His fundraising mission becomes a major storyline next week when Leanne offers to lend him £5,000 to help with the purchase. Idris gratefully accepts the money, but it is nowhere near enough to complete the deal. Rather than taking the sensible route and applying for a legitimate loan, Idris comes up with another risky scheme. He secretly organizes a poker night at Speeddal and invites dangerous car dealer Fiona Morley to take part. Idris then persuades Ollie Driscoll to play against her in exchange for a percentage of whatever money they manage to win. The catch is that Ollie is expected to cheat, with Idris feeding him instructions throughout the game. Trying to cheat a dangerous criminal during a high-stakes poker game is already a terrible idea. Things become even more complicated when police officer Kit Green decides to join the game. The situation becomes increasingly tense when Fiona suddenly demands that the stakes be doubled, leaving Idris facing an even bigger gamble. But the biggest danger may come after the game. Leanne is horrified when she discovers that Idris used Ollie as a pawn in a risky scheme involving a dangerous criminal simply because he wanted to raise enough money to buy Speeddal. The discovery forces Leanne to question whether she can genuinely trust the man she has fallen for. After the poker night goes badly wrong, Idris finds himself firmly in Leanne's bad books the following day. She makes it clear that he is no longer welcome inside the restaurant. Coronation Street airs on weeknights at 8:30 p.m. on ITV1 and streams on ITVX.